Hi, my name is Gail and today I'll be showcasing my Templar Avenger build. First I'm going to cover the basic mechanics of the build, then I'll explain the number scaling to achieve decent damage and survivability. All of our damage comes from the Avenger passive on the Wrath skill tree. This transforms our Thorns damage into a chain lightning effect when triggered. We trigger Avenger by dealing direct damage through skill hits. This is made possible by the Reckoning armor set, of which we currently have 2 pieces equipped. The skills we use to trigger Avenger are Spark Strike, which is our main attack, Phantom Sword Blades applied as a rune to our weapon, Magnetic Field, which deals damage rapidly over a short period of time, and Phantom Shield, which has a chance to trigger off each attack and bounces between enemies and ourselves. For clear speed, the Phantom Rune is the most useful tool as it hits all enemies in a straight line and the number of enemies it hit is not limited, like Phantom Shield. Unlike Phantom Shield though, it will only hit each enemy once and is therefore not very useful for single target damage. Through the Phantom Beacon Mastery, each of our Phantom Shields will no longer only hit enemies, but will also bounce off us, meaning that if there are no other enemies around, the shield will hit a single enemy 5 times. Each hit triggering Avenger. We increase the number of bounces with the Phantom Rune, taking the number of bounces from 3 to 9. That covers the mechanics. Now let's look at the numbers. Almost all of our base damage, or our base Thorns damage, comes from the Retaliator set, which adds 50% of our damage and 30% of our life to the base Thorns value. Now, since life can scale much higher than damage can, this is what we'll be focusing on. Notice that on each of my items, I do not have any Thorns value, except in the case of orange affixes that cannot be changed, instead opting for cooldown reduction, effect duration, and gem effectiveness. Wherever possible on gear, take life, crit damage, all res, and lightning damage. We don't go for any crit chances. That is covered by the rune on our ring, which makes Avenger always crit. The biggest increase we receive to our health scaling comes from the Heartstone accessory, which converts all of our resistances into a percentage life increase. You'll note that on all of my gear I have fire resistance instead of coverage across all resistance types. This is because of the Elementium rune from the Elementium armor, which scales our other resists by 50% of our highest one. The other way we scale our health is through the Wayric's Helm. The Wayric's Helm rune, which gives us more life and damage for each of our socketed gems. Alright, next is Avenger and Thorn scaling. Avenger is scaled by the Wrath rune on our tome. The Electrocution, there it is. The Electrocution Mastery, and where is it? Yes, and the Thunder Charged armor set. All in total giving us 1800% Thorns damage as lightning on each Avenger proc. Now the Thorns damage is scaled by the gems on our helm, armor, and boots, the critical Thorns rune on our boots, along with the Thorn Maiden and Reprisal. Altogether we achieve 1 billion Avenger damage on each trigger. Now on to defenses. We're somewhat lacking in this area compared to other Templar builds, as we have -50 resistances during anomalies, no block chance, which means no block damage mitigated, only 10% evasion, and only 46% damage reduction. Now, the way we mitigate damage is through Grace, which has a 45% chance for us to gain a life shield, or a shield which covers 30% of our life. Now, we increase the shield amount and the chance to trigger by first using the Heart of Grace rune, which we apply to our accessory slot, and we increase the trigger chance using the protective beliefs, which bumps it from 15% up to 45% chance to trigger. Now, an unfortunate side effect of scaling our health so much is that healing and through regen and life gain on hit becomes much less effective. Instead, we use percentage-based healing skills to keep ourselves alive. I use Blessing on my skill bar and Healing Touch in a Codex slot. Together, these will keep us topped up in a close range fight and get us back to full health in a pinch. A few quality of life notes before I showcase the gameplay. I have each of my skills bound to the left mouse button to make the process of applying buffs much smoother. My cooldown reduction and effect duration perfectly scale my buffs to allow for 100% uptime. The order in which these are placed on the skill bar is important too. Skill priority moves from right to left, and if you place your main attack in the rightmost slot, then it will never trigger any of your other cooldowns. An important note to make is that the Thorn Maiden reduces the base cooldown of my other utility skills, which pushes my other skills cooldowns just below their uptime, allowing for permanent buffs. And that's it for the guide. So here's some gameplay to show you guys how it works. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.